are to define the bodily kinesthetic intelligence and effectively apply it to the classroom.
Our agenda for the day, we're going to give you the definition and characteristics of the intelligence and students who learn best in that manner, how it can impact your classroom. You'll have a guided practice activity as well as an independent practice activity.
The definition: bodily kinesthetic intelligence entails the potential of using one's whole body or body parts to solve the problem. It is the ability to use mental abilities and to coordinate bodily movements. Howard Gardner sees mental and physical activity as related.
Some characteristics of kinesthetic learners. People that, or students that sit in class and tap their foot or jiggle their leg or they fiddle with their pencil. That's evidence of that. They're frequently labeled as hyperactive students because they're really not able to sit still. They're most likely going to be athletes or dancers or actors. They're very good with their hands, whether it be artistically or putting things together, taking them apart. They're also well coordinated.
In my clinical, it was very easy to pick up the kinesthetic learners due to the fact that they were always getting up and moving around. Like they did not want to sit down at all, ever. Curriculum development. Curriculum should include plenty of opportunities for field trips and hands-on activities. So like science projects, arts and crafts, competitions and games, the in-class theater and messy activities where the kids can get their hands dirty or just work with whatever they want to work with.
As far as utilizing the intelligence in your classroom management styles, you want to remember not to get frustrated with students who are always moving, because more likely than not, they aren't able to help it. In fact, it could even help them learn better. I know for me, that was always the thing, is I'd always have to be fidgeting in some way, shape, or form, otherwise I wouldn't understand what was going on. There are also many different attention getters you can use that involve using kids moving. For starters, one that we've always used in choir is clapping. So the director would clap out a beat, and then you would finish it. So like the da-da-da-da-da-da, the director would go. And then we would respond with that. Another one you can do is stand up if you hear me or perform some action if you can hear me. So what we're going to do is ask you guys to think of some other attention getters you can use in the classroom, and we're going to use a little glow picker here to choose or once if someone wants to give an example.
Well, this one's not like an attention getter, but I know one of my friends had, they had like, it was manifest that you got an answer right, then you could throw a shoe basket and garbage can.
And that'd be a really good one. You get a reward for getting it right as well as moving. Yeah.
That's good.
In my clinical placement that I'm at right now, one of the things the teacher did was like to get the students' attention. She would have them like put their finger on their nose and then kind of like to see if they understood what she was saying, or like to get them to be quiet. So that's another thing study in the classroom.
In my clinical, my teacher, she actually had like a box of fidgets. So she just had like balls in there and stuff from other kids' help and needed to fidget, I guess, and we'll grab one. So that was
Oh.
My second clinical, like, she'd start out with like a really fast action and then maybe like waving the arms and then like slowly build down the actions until they were like more calm and like standing still.
All right.
Addressing student behavior. Have students act out appropriate behavior. Know that if students are getting up and moving around is not because of a behavior problem, it's just because they need to move. Always remember when addressing this behavior that most of these students are ADHD students, so they're attention deficit hyperactive disorder students. These types of students tend to make everything into a competition, so make being good a competition. Make them want to prove to you and everybody else that they can be good students and they can pay attention.
An example for what you can do for having students act out appropriate behaviors would be, like, you could have two volunteers come up to the front of the room, have one of them pretend like they skin their knee at recess or something, and then have the other child act out, you know, are you okay, do you need help, go get the teacher, things like that, as opposed to either laughing at them because they hurt themselves or they're drop coordinated or something. Some teaching strategies you can use. You should promote movement by using different hand signals with different meanings. It's something that's really simple that we used in my first clinical, where if someone in the class answered a question that was opinion-based, the rest of the class would go like this, which I believe maybe yes or I agree or something in sign language, but they would raise their hands in the air and go like this to show that they agreed with what the person was saying, instead of having like 6 or 7 different students raise their hand and say the same thing, or start talking and saying what they like the person said. You could also have a signal for maybe other than just the boring raising your hand, you can do something more enjoyable for the students, or the same with hands.
Teaching strategies again. When teaching a history or literature class, have them act out stuff. So if you're in the middle of a book and someone's not understanding the book, try and get some people to act it out, and that'll show them not only show them physically, but it'll also let them move around in order to learn more. And then have students create an extension to the story and topic and act out what they think could happen after the instance ends. This makes them go more into critical thinking and just keep going into the story more and more.
When you're forming groups, you can have students perform an act like hopping on one leg, or like holding up different fingers or something. So then you can ask the students to pair up with someone doing the same thing. So we're going to use the globe picker again. If anyone has any other ideas that you can use as group forming things that involve movement.
Those with your right hand, those with your left hand.
The assessment. You can create a diorama of the story of a history topic. So like draw it out using your arm and your hand. Make a project involve a math lesson, drawing multiple geometric figures and coloring them, and then acting on the lesson.
Yeah, it was a big thing in my first clinical placement. Throughout the classroom, they had different activities and things, arts, I guess you could call them, that the students did relating to their lessons. So like they were learning about geometry, and they were drawing on golf courses, or they were in their history lesson. They had it was kind of like a diorama, where they had little figurines, but it was more on just a 2-dimensional piece of paper.
Another good assessment tool is drawing maps, like 3D maps for the history classes. Shows that they know where everything is, and just allows them to move around a little bit.
And that's also going to help students who have spatial intelligence and learn best by seeing pictures and whatnot to feel more included. In your classroom environment, you want to set up different stations so the students have a reason to get up and move around. You might want to go, the teacher had different areas set up, like in one spot they had all the art supplies, and another they had their books, and another they had just like their pencils and folders and homework, so the students were constantly getting up and walking around the classroom, so they weren't sitting there with all this pent-up energy just ready to explode. So have material gloves and students to be able to build, be tactile and use their hands. And one thing you could do is you could implement the system and let your students are in the hall, restroom, office, etc.
activity centers. The permanent open-ended one uses space for movement, mini trampoline, clay, blocks, those are all just examples. The temporary topic specific is, again, using a building center. Temporary open-ended, we could use Twister. Permanent topic specific, we could make a clay sculpture of what summer means to you.
Some career choices that bodily kinesthetic learners excel in could be a performer, some type of athlete, a surgeon, park ranger, some type of construction worker, contractor, physical therapist, or mechanic. Anything really that involves working with your hands, some type of skill with your hands.
On the guided practice, on the back of this sheet, we want you to attempt to draw the continents of the world.
For those of you that were at the WIGA conference on Saturday, this is similar to one of the activities we did. North America, South America, Russia, Asia, Europe, Africa.
Australia, Antarctica.
About another minute or so, or until most of the class is finished up. So it looks like most people are almost done, or done. So, is there anyone that would like to kind of show the pictures big enough? Didn't think so.
No braille
students. It gives them an opportunity to draw out their artistic and crafty side, as well as gives you an opportunity to know how much they know and how much they have yet to learn. You can then repeat this as the type of assessment tool towards the end of the lesson to see how much they actually learned and what you need to go over again. Another activity that we went over this weekend, which really applied to this, or was a similar idea to this, is everybody got a map, and they asked us to shade in the areas of the map where people live. So that's another thing that you can do on another level is instead of just doing where people live underneath, you can do where tobacco grows in the United States, or where major rivers are, where corn is grown somewhere.
What's desert, what's not, what's rainforest, what's not,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
You can do it for anything really. You can do it on a city level, state level, country, nation. Then the third activity we did, which ties into all this, is one of the same presenter had little artifact or little souvenirs he brought back with him from Japan, and he had them set up all across the room. He told everyone to walk around a little bit, write notes about what they think each thing is, what it could be, what its purpose would be. It's a great way to get students interested in a hands-on way. Is there's a little drum. Ironically, we weren't supposed to touch it, but you could have a little drum if you go somewhere and have the students play with that for a second, and walk over to something else so they can relate to the topic you're talking to, or talking about. In addition to getting a chance to move around, play with things, release some of that energy.
So how close were you? A lot of head nods, so John Keats looks like he got it all. Dead on, all right.
We're going to move on to our independent practice activity. You can work with a group of people sitting at your pods. We'd like you to come up with a way that you can use bodily kinesthetic, the bodily kinesthetic intelligence, along with your assessment styles to assess a lesson. So, like a math lesson, how would you assess that using bodily kinesthetic intelligence? Or a history lesson, science, something. share their ideas. Go back to the wall.
For history, I thought of the science and historical figure, and then, like, instead of like being presented more fluent and, as an academic now, I can pretend like I understand the traditions. And bring up these, definition. So,
If you're teaching students about multiplication, you can have them hold numbers and symbols and have them form an equation, and make sure they understand the answer to multiplication.
I thought for science, like at the beginning of the unit, you could say, at the end of this review, we're gonna be acting out the terms. So I don't, so they can be thinking about like, how am I gonna act this out, or like, do you see it?
We could do like a board game corresponding to like question request. So if they get one right, like they can move their piece up and you can like keep track of them. If they got it right.
Competition-based things within the classroom are going to be very great motivators for students to perform the best because they're going to want to beat their classmates. They're going to even if there's no good prize, rather than knowledge, which is the biggest prize of all. Anyone else?
In summary, utilize hands-on activities as much as you can. Incorporate movement into everyday classroom procedures by using hand signals. Include multiple intelligences in assessment. So alternative assessment styles will always help you achieve this.
That is bodily kinesthetic.
Thank you. And if you could provide some comments. The sheet was white this time, the yellow paper didn't come